Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Great, I want to welcome you all to this webinar. We're starting right on time. We have a lot of material to cover in the next hour, so we're going to get right to it. We have about well, right now about over 80 people in the room, and there's probably another 40 or so that are on their way. They'll be joining us. It won't get too crowded, don't worry. So just before we start, I want to welcome you all. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, that you've made put this time aside. I want to get started and talking about the 3 mistakes directors make working with actors. Mistake number one is when directors are actually asking for or demanding results. You've heard of result directing. I'm sure you all know what result directing is, but very simply, result directing is when you are asking an actor to give you a specific emotion, feeling, attitude, or whatever. You're asking for a result. Now, the reason it's called result directing is it's a result of what's happening in the scene between that character and the other characters. And you are asking for them to have a specific reaction, feeling, emotion, or whatever. That is result directing. Now, I understand it. We all understand it. We all do it. I've done it for years. And it's a very hard thing to avoid, because what I do understand is that you directors, in your minds, you have a scene playing. You've read the script, you've read the scene, you've examined the characters. It's your movie. You're making the movie. You can see the movie. All you want for those actors to do is to give you the performance that you imagine, and then you believe you will have the perfect movie, at least the perfect movie for you. This is all very true. I understand this. And you would say, well, what other way can I get this from the actor if I don't tell him or her what I want? Good point. Good idea. Tell them what you want. But the question is, how are you going to get what you want? If you try to get what you want by saying, here's what I want. Here's the feeling I want. I want tears at this moment. I want anger at this moment. I want a sudden realization from you at this moment. I want an attitude shift at this moment. That's telling them what they want. That is not giving them any idea how or why their character does that. That's the problem. This is the problem with result directing. You can get the result. Now, there are many, many actors, very highly skilled actors. And even as I'm watching all of you come into this webinar today, I see a lot of actors that I know, very skilled, who can do that, who can listen to a result and can deliver something that really looks good. It feels good. It's probably not authentic, but it looks good. But the problem is where it comes from. It is not coming from the character. It is not coming from the events that are occurring in the scene. It is coming out of a plan. It began with you, the director. That's the director's plan. You articulate that plan to the actor. Now it becomes the actor's plan. And the actor plans how to do that, how to give you that feeling or emotion or attitude that you want. And then you've got it. It's all planned. It's all manufactured. It's all artificial. It is the bad side of acting, which is it's pretending. It's not real. Now, my goal as a director, my goal with working with all the directors I work with now, and I know there are many of you on this call, is let's see if we can avoid pretending, actually avoid acting. If we can go for real emotions, real behavior, real, genuine response that character has in that moment, not a planned response, a genuine response, just like all of us do every moment of our lives. That's what we're going for. So that's mistake number one. Now, there is a solution to this. which I will get to later. There is a solution so that you never have to give results again. You never have to be a result director again. I'll get to it later. That's number one. Number two, mistake number two, which is linked. Now, these two are somehow linked to each other. The result directing and mistake number two. Mistake number two is criticizing the actor, being critical. Now, you might think, well, if they're not giving me what I want, shouldn't I be critical? Shouldn't I tell them that they're not giving me what I want? Well, yes, you should. Makes perfect sense. You can say after a certain take, nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Let's try it this way. Now, when I say no criticism, I genuinely mean this. When you're working with actors, the best thing you can do is eliminate criticism. Now, I mean criticism of their performance, criticism of their choices, criticism of whatever they've done for you in rehearsal or on camera. Stop the criticism. Criticism hurts. You all know what it's like to be criticized by somebody, anybody. You could be riding on a bus and a little child says something to you that is critical, and you know what happens to your heart. It sort of seizes up a little bit. But if it's someone you care about, a loved one, a mother, a father, a child, a lover, and you get criticism, you know what happens inside you. So you know well enough that when you criticize an actor, you know what happens inside them. Something seizes up because the world feels a little less safe. Now, one thing you really need to do as a director, always, one of your primary jobs is to create a safe world for the actors. Create a totally safe environment. And it's an environment that has no criticism. It's also an environment where the only person who talks to the actors about their work, about their characters, about their performances, anything, is you, nobody else. Not the writer, not the producers, not even the other actors. I make that a rule. I make that a rule, and I tell the actors this: don't talk to each other about performance because I want to keep the environment safe. You want to keep the environment as pure and as safe as a child in a sandbox. You know, a child goes into a sandbox and starts playing, and you watch them, and suddenly they're playing with objects and sand and water and shovels and things, and suddenly you can see their imagination is flowing. If someone comes by and says something critical to them, it'll stop. They'll shut down. They won't be able to go with that creative flow that they were just feeling. You want the actors to feel that creative flow as like a child in a sandbox, just playing. That's what you want all the time you're working with actors. You want creative energy and flow to flow out of them, even to flow out of them, out of their unconscious. And we'll get to how that can be done later. I can show you how to do that later. We'll talk about that later. So there is a solution. You do not have to criticize the actor at all. And we'll get to that in a few moments. Now, when we worked in the director's lab, and some of you know about the director's lab, these are the things, a lot of things we deal with. We deal with the communication between actors and directors. How can actors and directors communicate without giving results? How can they communicate without criticizing? How can they connect their visions together without this either demanding, which is result directing, or criticizing, which is reprimanding? Remove those two and still have the creative conversation. Now, in the director's lab, we deal with this all the time. We'll talk more about the director's lab later, for those of you who don't know what it is. Okay, now we're on to number three. We're on to mistake number three. Now, this one may surprise you. Surprise some of you. Those of you who know me well, maybe it won't surprise you at all. Mistake number three that directors make is directing the actor. Now, I know what you're thinking. Isn't that the director's job, to direct the actor? And I would say, absolutely, it is. Then how can directing the actor be a mistake? And I can tell you why. Because what you're going for, and actually what the actor is going for, is an authentic character on the stage or on the screen. You want authenticity. Now, the actor as a human being has a job. The job is to portray that character. And there are a lot of things that come along with the job, and there's a lot of preparation that actor has done to do that job. And as soon as you say to that actor, okay, here's what I want you to do, here's how I want you to play it, and all that, and you are making demands, the actor will automatically start to create a plan. Okay, this is what the director wants, this is how I'm going to do it. So the director wants, more lightness, wants more vulnerability, wants more anger, more rage, more passion, wants whatever. Now we're back to results again a little bit. But this is what the director wants, and I can see it, not a problem, and I will do it. Now you have the actor functioning, as we all understand, as an actor trying to create a character who is doing exactly what is asked for. That's directing the actor. In our minds, our thinking, I want to talk to you for a second about short-term memory. Short-term memory. Now, we learned this from an airline pilot who actually teaches people how to fly. In our mind, in a moment, in this moment, your moment, for all of you and for me, we can hold about, and this is the way he showed me, 8 things. We can hold about 8 things in our mind at any one moment. That's about the maximum. Some people say it's only 6, but about 8. We'll go with 8, which means if something happens, something startling happens, or you see something happen that comes into your mind in that moment, something else has to be kicked out, okay? So there are 8 things that you can hold on to. And this airline pilot said to me, as he's teaching pilots, he tells the pilot, 4 of those things better be about the airplane. Good idea if you're a pilot. Now imagine the actor going in to do a scene. And now he's concentrated on doing this scene, giving the performance that you've asked for, that he's agreed to, or she's agreed to. Okay, that's what's in the mind, those 8 things. Here's what he wants here, here's what he wants here, a little more rhythm here, take a break here, take a place there, a little tears there. Filled with all of these ideas, which is the plan. It is the actor's plan. It becomes a plan very quickly. Now my question to you is, of those 8 things that's in the actor's minds at that moment, how many of those 8 things have anything to do with what the character is thinking? Now, the actor is thinking about the character, true, but the actor is not the character. And wouldn't it be better if those 8, or at least 6 of those 8 things in the mind of that actor was actually what the character is thinking, what the character is focused on, what the character is wondering about, what the character wants, needs, desires, fears? Wouldn't that be better? Because then you would have on the screen or on the stage the character, not the actor pretending to be the character, but you would really have the character. Now, the character lives inside every actor. Once an actor is cast, that character lives inside the actor. So the goal is, how can we bring the character out and literally get the actor out of the way? I know there are a lot of you out there who are actors. And just think about this. One of your biggest obstacles to becoming the character is to get yourself out of the way. And the more you're thinking about the character, and the more you're planning, and the more you're making choices moment to moment and remembering things, the less the character is actually there. We get a semblance of the character, but we don't get the character. So the third mistake, directing the actor. The more I talk to an actor about what I want, the more I'll get the actor's brain thinking as an actor, and I'll get an actor's plan. But if instead, and I'll show you how this is done, if I can direct the character, if I can communicate directly to the character, bypass the actor, get to the character, and ignite the character's thinkings, feelings, desires, and fears, and then send that character into the scene and see what happens. One thing is, I'm pretty sure it'll be authentic. It'll be real. It'll be real to the character. It will not be planned. I do not want an actor's plan. I want to see a character fighting and struggling to get through the events of the scene as best as he or she can. That's what I want. And this is another thing that we work on in the director's lab. Okay, I'm back to the director's lab again. We'll talk about that later. But meanwhile, what I want to do right now is I want to show you a video. Now I'm going to show you a video. Hold on one second here. A little technology moment. Here we go. I'm going to show you a video. This is a video of a rehearsal. This is a video of a rehearsal that was shot a while ago. It's all part of a documentary we're making called Inside the Travis Technique. This is a video of an interrogation process, a real rehearsal. This is a rehearsal. This is about an 11-minute video. And let me just tell you what happens just prior to what you're going to see. Prior to what you're going to see, I'm in the video as the director. You'll see that. Prior to this, myself and the two actors, Rob Scattergood and Corinne Shore, who are tremendous actors, we have discussed the scene. This is a scene from American Beauty, which many of you know about. We have discussed the scene. We have discussed the entire script. We have discussed the characters. I've heard all their thoughts and ideas about these characters. They've heard all my thoughts and ideas. And we've heard the visions that we have for what is possible. And then just prior to what you're going to see, we've done the first reading of the scene, of this particular scene. You're not going to see that, but it was just a reading, and it was just like a cold reading, a typical cold reading. And right after the cold reading, this is what happens.
Inside the Travis Technique, scene 3, take 1.
Okay, and action.
I'm only trying to help you.
So Lester, this is your wife?
Yeah.
This is your wife? You've been married, you love her?
I love her very much.
Very much?
Very much.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
How's the sex, Lester? Lester, how's the sex?
It's non-existent.
It's non-existent.
Yeah.
But you love her.
Of course.
And the marriage is going well. And she appreciates you. Does she appreciate you, Lester?
Yep.
Yep.
Can
What do you mean, yep? Do you love him?
Yeah. Yes.
Carolyn, you do love him? Are you sure? I mean, you've been married for 20 years or something like that. You have a child. Do you still love your husband?
I love this man.
You love this man. This is your husband.
Yep.
And you appreciate him. And you respect him. Do you respect him?
There are parts of him I respect.
Is there a problem? Carolyn, is there a problem?
Well, he just bought a new car without
He just
telling
bought a
me.
new car without, so what?
So what? He
So
should have
what?
consulted me.
Why?
Because
Do you consult him every time you buy something? Did you
No,
consult him when
but
you bought that dress? Did you?
A car and a
Did-
dress are very different.
Oh, they are.
Yes, they are.
But this is his car. This is the
Yes,
car
but
he's.
this is for work.
This is for work.
Yes,
What?
I have to look good for work.
So you have to look good for work.
Yes,
So you're pissed off at him because he bought a car without consulting you.
and he's unemployed.
And he's unemployed. No, he has a job.
That
He
is
has
not a job.
He has a job.
That is not a job.
It's a real
That
job.
is not a job.
There are a lot of other people who work at Smiley's. They think it's a job.
Okay.
Have you told him how upset you are with him? Carolyn, have you told him how upset you are with him?
He's not stupid. I think
I
he
didn't
knows.
ask you if he's stupid. I asked you if you have talked to him. Do you ever talk to your husband?
Yeah, we tried talking the other night and he threw something against the wall.
He threw something against the wall. So you don't talk to him. Have you told him how disappointed you are in him? With his quitting the job? Do you talk to your wife?
No.
You told me you love her.
I do love her.
You love her, but you don't talk to her. Lester, why don't you just talk to her?
Because she's not interested in anything I have to say.
So what what is kind of relationship is this?
I don't know what.
I mean, you love this woman and you don't talk to her.
She always just.
She what?
She puts me down. She
puts you
shoots
down.
down my ideas. She's.
Yeah, go ahead. She shoots down your idea. You have good ideas. You have really good ideas, don't you?
She used to know what made me happy and she used to care about
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Now she doesn't even ask about how my day was, how I'm feeling at all. She doesn't care.
Do you want her? Do you want her to talk to you?
Yes.
Well, then maybe you should talk to her. What would you tell her if you could tell her anything and nothing bad would happen?
What would I tell her?
What would you talk to her about? What would you tell her?
I would ask her why she is what she is now, which is not the person that I married.
Oh, not the person you married. She's changed.
She's become completely different.
And that bothers you. That upsets you.
Yes, because also
How long has this been going on, Lester?
10 years?
10 years.
Probably.
And how long since you've talked to her about it? Have you ever mentioned it to her once? 10 years of silence? Is that what we're talking about?
I've maybe hinted
Hinted.
at things, and then she always
What would
avoids
you
the
like to tell
conversation.
your husband? If you could tell him anything, what would you like to tell him?
He's not the man I married either.
I didn't ask you that. What would you like to tell him?
I tell him the ship has sailed.
The ship, does this mean it's over?
No, but it has sailed.
What ship has sailed?
The ship between us.
It's sailed?
It's not where it should be.
It's not where it should be. And it's all his fault?
It's not just one person's
You're doing
fault.
the best you are.
I do
You
work
are. You're
hard.
working hard. I know.
I do.
And you bought this house?
Yes.
You bought the car?
Yes.
You got the real estate business going? You've been
Yes.
working really hard.
Yes.
Has he been helping you?
No.
Have you said anything to him about that?
I tell him many times when we're
Yeah.
at functions to just man up and just help.
Just man up and help. At functions. How about at
Yes.
home?
He messes it up, so it's easier to just do it.
To do what?
Everything.
What would it feel like, Carolyn, if you could tell him exactly how you feel about it? How would that feel? Exactly. Why are you shaking your head? Why are you shaking
we
your
don't
head?
do that.
I didn't ask you that if you did that. I know you don't do that. How would it feel if you could tell him exactly how you feel about him?
I
Exactly.
don't know because I've never done it.
Imagine. What if I told you you could do it and nothing bad would happen? I'm going to give you that opportunity. Wouldn't you like to tell her exactly what you think of it? Wouldn't you like to tell her that you miss the woman she used to be?
Yes,
Wouldn't that feel good?
it feels good, but I'm a little afraid.
Afraid of what?
Just the way she would react.
What? Okay, yeah, but if I told you that nothing bad is going to happen, I'm going to give you an opportunity, Lester, to tell your wife, Carolyn, exactly what you think of her, exactly how you feel about her, exactly how disappointed you are, what you want from her, right now.
Okay.
Right now, you ready? Right now, you're going to tell Lester exactly what you think of him. This is two monologues going on at the same time. Ready? And go.
You've
You
completely
left me alone,
changed. You are
Lester.
not the
I don't
person
know
that I
where
used
you
to
went,
marry.
but the ship
You
has
have something
sailed.
going on in
You
your
have
head that you're
zero
striving
ambition.
towards,
I
and you've
asked you to
forgotten
go
about
and
us, and
write
you've
something
forgotten
to
about
save your
Jane.
job so that I was
We
the
have
only one
a house with a
contributing.
white
And you-
picket
what are you
fence and a
doing?
backyard,
what
and
you
you've
do,
got
you
your shiny
blackmailed
Mercedes,
your
and that's all you
boss.
fucking care
Who
about.
does
That's
that?
all you don't
And
care
then
about
you
me
started
anymore.
working out
You don't
your
even
own
care about
business.
yourself.
Okay,
yourself.
Lester, how's it going?
It
What?
felt good. It
Felt
very
good? You're
Yeah,
saying
felt
what you
good.
want to say? Are you saying what you
Yes.
want to say? Yeah, and it feels good.
It feels good.
Yeah, okay, and she's listening to you.
I don't know if she's listening.
She's not listening to you.
I don't know.
Well, what's the point, Lester? What's the point of saying all this great stuff to her if she doesn't hear it? Wouldn't it be great if she heard it?
Yeah.
Yeah, how's it going, Carolyn? What?
It's not going very well
Why not?
because it's pointless. He
What do you mean
doesn't
it's
hear me.
pointless?
He doesn't
Are you
hear me.
saying what you
Yeah.
want to
I
say?
am saying it.
And he doesn't hear you?
No.
So what are you going to do about that? Can you get him to stop and listen for once?
Because I'm letting people in.
That's okay.
Can
Don't
you
worry.
get him to stop and listen,
I
Carolyn?
don't know if I can.
Wouldn't it be great if he just heard it? He doesn't have to agree with it. He doesn't have to accept anything. Wouldn't it be great if he just heard what you have to say?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go again. When I say start, same thing. This time, your objective, get the other one to stop talking and listen. Get Lester to stop talking and listen to you. Get her to stop talking and listen to you.
Okay.
Okay? No hitting, no violence. You ready? And go.
I
You
know
need to
think
listen
that
to me
I'm
right
innocent,
now. Just
and I know
listen
you
for
think that
once
I'm
in your
fake,
life.
but the
Please listen
fact
what I have to
is,
say.
I have contempt, utter contempt for
You-
who you have become,
Did you-
and my
Well,
respect
who I've
is
become?
gone.
You're
It's
the one who's
actually
become a different
gone.
person.
When I see
I've
you
lost a
go
little
to
piece
bed
of
at
me
night,
inside
parts of
because
me
it's dead
die,
and you killed
and
it.
I don't want to be here anymore. If you would just release me.
I can't
I
release you
can't
because I love you
understand
and we are
why
bound by marriage.
you
We have a
just
daughter.
want this life and you
I
don't
want a
even
life
care
with you.
about
I want
her.
our life
You
back
do
that we
not
used to
care about
have.
her or me.
Read the scene.
What?
Whose car is that out front?
It's mine. 1972 Pontiac GTO. The car I've always wanted, and now I have it. I rule.
Where's the Camry?
I traded it in.
Shouldn't you have consulted me first?
Let me think. No. You never drove it. You look good. What have you done?
Where's Jane?
Jane's not home. So we have the entire house to ourselves. Christ, Carolyn, when did you become so joyless?
Joyless? I am not joyless. There happens to be a lot about me you don't know, Mr. Smarty Man. I have plenty of joy in my life.
Whatever happened to the girl that used to fake seizures at frat parties when she'd get bored? And the girl who used to run up on the roof of our first apartment building to flash the traffic helicopters. Have you totally forgotten about her? Because I haven't.
Lester, you're gonna spill beer on the couch.
So what? It's just a couch.
This is a $4,000 sofa, upholstered in Italian silk. This is not just a couch.
This is just a couch. This isn't life, this is just stuff. And it's become more important to you than living. Well, honey, that's just nuts. I'm only trying to help you.
Carolyn, come here. What I need from you now, go.
What I need from you
What I
now
need from you now
is to listen to
just
me
have-
and take a step back from
Wake
whatever
up.
this is. With
I
your
need you to wake
flowers
up and
your
be there
matching shoes
with
and
me.
everything.
and fight.
I-
Where did your
I want
ambition
to be
go?
with
That's
you.
what
This
I
is
need
why
from
I'm
you is some
fighting.
ambition. I worked
There's a little
so
bit of me
hard.
that is trying to get
And you
back whatever
laugh
we used to
at
have and
it.
get back to who
You
I
laugh
really
in the
am
face
instead
of
of
it.
this masked shroud I walk around in.
One last statement. Carolyn?
I've already left you.
Lester?
I want you back.
Okay, so that's the scene. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's talk about now what you have seen, what I just showed you. This is a rehearsal. One thing I want to make very, very clear about this rehearsal process that I do is that as you watched it, you realize there is no traditional directing in there at all. By traditional directing, I mean, I am not, first of all, I'm not talking to the actors at all. The actors' names happen to be Rob and Corinne. You never hear me say that. I'm talking to them only as Lester and Carolyn. So I'm only talking to the characters, only to the characters. I'm not giving any directions. We're not talking about lines. We're not talking about script. We're not talking about motivation. We're not having any kind of those discussions at all about this scene. Now, they know the scene that's coming up, obviously, because they just read the scene earlier. This comes in between the two readings of the scene. And so they know the scene we're doing. I don't need to talk about that. What I am more interested in is who are Lester and Carolyn? What are they thinking and feeling, first of all, about each other? What are they thinking and feeling about the elements, the situations of the moment they're about to go into, not knowing what they're going into? Now, this is a very, very important point I want to make right here. The characters, we'll just take Carolyn and Lester for a moment. Those characters, the characters are not in a movie. And you might say, oh, yes, they are. They're in the movie American Beauty. No, they're not. The actors playing them are in a movie playing them. But the characters in real life, Lester and Carolyn Burnham, they're not, their life is not about being in a movie. So if I want to have authentic characters on the screen, I don't want them thinking about movie making. I don't want them thinking about acting. Any of that. I want Lester to be thinking about what Lester is thinking about. I want him to be so infused with his world at that moment. So when he goes into the scene, he is not thinking about the scene or how to play the scene. Not at all. The characters in your movie, all of you, for all your characters, for all of you who write scripts, or directing or acting, your characters are not in a movie. Your characters don't know that there is a written scene of so many lines that's going to turn out in a certain way. They do not know that. Now, as actors, I understand, as directors, I understand when we talk to each other as actor, director, we discuss all of that. But when it comes to the critical moment of that transfer, the transfer from actor to character. This is what I'm talking about. How do you, when you are asking an actor to play the scene, that moment that they go into the character, that is one of the most critical moments in this whole process. Who is going in? If I say to Rob and Corinne, okay, now let's just read the scene, and I'm talking to Rob and Corinne, then I'm still talking to the two actors. Totally talking to the actors. But I don't want the actors in the scene. I want the characters in the scene. So my goal is to ignite the characters, bring the characters that live inside them to life, and then launch those characters into the scene. And I'm really serious about this. And then see what happens. This is a key thing. Let's see what happens. This is what I discussed with the actors. I said, this is the way we work. Mark, do you have any idea of how you want the scene to play? I have no idea at all. I will tell him. I said, I don't know. Of course I have ideas, and of course they have ideas, but now we're back to results again. No, I'm much more interested in taking these two characters, bringing the characters to life and launch them into the scene. Now, the beautiful thing about actors is they can do this. Really good actors like these two, and a lot of good actors, and I know I have a lot of them in this group today. You can do this. You can go into a scene unprepared, without an actor's plan. You can go in the scene totally infused with everything that's in the character, and you will remember all the lines. You will do all the technical aspects of acting that you need to do. That will get done. But what you're not trying to control or plan is how the character is going to respond, how the character is even going to say a line. You know, all of you as directors and actors, you know, you come up with, oh, I got a great way to say that line. Boy, if I emphasize the third word, that's going to be really, that's a plan. What would happen if you didn't do that? What would happen if you went into the scene, the character goes into the scene so full of whatever there's going on in their minds, in their bodies, in the relationship with the other people, they can't think about how to say the line. The line will just come out because that's the next line. And many times, I can tell you, working with actors this way, they are as surprised as I am what comes out. They'll even say, like after a scene like this, Rob will say, I don't know why. I don't know why he said it that way. He, the character. I don't know where that came from. And I go, great. That's what I want. The not knowing, the not planning. Now, this process that you just saw has 4 phases, which I want to mention to you right now, of how it works, basically how it works. The first phase is, the whole process is called the interrogation process. The first phase is called the interrogation. Now, you notice right at the beginning, I come in and I'm talking to Lester. I don't even address Rob at all. I come in and say, Lester, how's it going? And I start interrogating Lester. And eventually I bring in Carolyn, and I'm interrogating both of them. What am I going for? I have a plan. I have a very definite plan. My plan at that moment is to interrogate them on about one very simple thing. How do they really feel about each other? That's it. How do you feel about each other? How do you feel about your husband? How do you feel about you? I'm exploring. Now, if you remember in that whole scene that you saw during the interrogation part, what's going on is it's a lot of questions. Okay, it's a lot of questions. I'm not telling them how they feel. I'm asking them, do you still love your wife? Yeah, how's the sex? Now, what I am doing while I'm questioning them and just waiting for their responses, I'm waiting for little moments, which I call the flicker or a window. I'm waiting to see something, because of something I've said, start to ripple inside them. Then I know I'm deep, deep, deep into the character. And right at the beginning, when I say to Lester, how's the sex? And if you remember, you can see that response that he has, which is sort of like he's been thrown. He doesn't know quite what's going to happen or how to answer it. And I go, there it is. That's a window. That's an opportunity for me to keep digging. I dig into the areas that seem sensitive. I dig into the areas that seem vulnerable, but I'm digging in by questions. Because I say, oh, is there a problem? I say that to Caroline. Is there a problem? She says, yes, I love that man. Oh, is there a problem? I sense something's wrong. But I keep asking. I'm not telling them how to feel. That's the interrogation process. But right now we're talking generally. Okay, interrogation happens first. Then if you remember, there's a moment when I say, what would you like to say to him that you're afraid to say? What do you really want? Now, what I'm going for is, what do they really want to say to each other? Everything that they've said so far up to that point really is subtext. They're telling me things that they will not say to each other. They even admit it. I've never said that to her. That's subtext. Now I'm going for deeper subtext. What do you want to say that you're afraid to say? And you can see the pushback I get from both of them. I don't want to say that. It's ridiculous. It's a waste of time to say that. I can't say that. I'm afraid of her. That's what I'm going for. I'm going for the part, the subtext that's frightening, that's scary. And I will get them to agree to express it to each other in those monologues. So that's the second phase. The second phase is what's called simultaneous monologues, where the two characters are now not talking to me anymore. I'm out of the picture as far as they're concerned. They're now connecting directly with each other and expressing how they really feel about each other, deeply feel, even though it's something they're afraid to say, but they are saying it. Now, in the course or in the director's lab, we go into how and why the simultaneous works so powerfully. It's a very powerful exercise, but part of it is the safety of the noise, the safety of expressing how you feel to someone else while they're talking to you. It feels safe because there's a lot of noise coming at you. That's all intentional in the design of it. So during the monologues, they are actually getting deeper and deeper into their feelings about each other, whatever they are. There's a moment where I stop them, if you recall, and I ask them both to start again and to try to get the other person to stop talking and listen. All I've done is I've raised the stakes. I've not only raised the stakes, I've moved them from the little cocoon they've been in, talking to each other, which feels safe. Now they have to connect with each other. So I've raised the stakes. Now they're connecting. They're trying to get the other person to stop and listen. It's that simple. It's that simple. So that's the second part of this simultaneous monologues where their stakes are raised. Then the third phase of this whole process is called, I call it dumping into the scene, where I will dump them very quickly into the scene. Now, these are two actors, Rob and Corinne, who are tremendous actors, right? No, they've been through this process before. They know that I'm probably going to do that. I'm going to say, read the scene at some point. They know that. If they didn't, I would tell them before we even start. I may say, read the scene. Just be ready to read the scene at any time. They'll go, okay, so that's why they have the scripts in their hands. So they're ready just to read the scene at any time. So when I do that, when I suddenly say, read the scene, now it's not, let's take a break and then read the scene. You do that and you will lose about 80% of what you've just gained. It'll be gone. It won't be forgotten, but it won't be there. It won't be on the surface. It'll slide down, and remember the 8 things? Other things will come in. Right now, their brain is all 8, maybe 2 about the actors, and the other 6 are about the characters. They are so full of the character, and I dump them into the scene and say, read it. And there's no direction beyond that. I'm not asking them to do it. I said, just do it. The whole idea is get through the scene as best as you can. That's to the characters. Now we're getting close to real life. Get through the scene as best as you can. You know it's going to be a confrontation scene. You know what it's going to be. You don't know what the other person is going to say, and you're just going to deal with it. Now they're in that zone, and they will go through the scene. Now, this part of dumping in the scene is very important in terms of the interrogation, because to me, the scene itself, as written, any scene, becomes the litmus test now to this process. As I'm watching them go through the scene, I'm not looking for, is this a good performance or not? I'm not looking for that. I'm not judging it at all. What I'm looking for is, where are the characters? What have we achieved? Who have we created? Who are these people? How much of this the work we have done prior to the scene is resonating through the scene. That's what I'm like. Many times, and it happened a couple of times even in this scene, they'll stumble. They'll stumble because it's a big shift to go from being the character authentically and deeply and powerfully to suddenly having to read lines that have been written for you. It's a big shift and they'll stumble. That stumbling is not a problem. I'm looking at who these people are and how they're connecting and how they're relating and how they're reacting to each other. What's happening to Lester and Carolyn during the scene. So it becomes a litmus test. And I never talk about what happened during the scene. For the most part, sometimes we will a little bit, but it's not about what happens in the scene. It's about who the characters are. And then the fourth phase of this is what I call the check-in. After the scene is over, I bring them back together and there are just two simple questions. I start them on two monologues, again, simultaneous. Simultaneous monologues are what I need from you now. Now, all I'm doing there, I'm checking in with the characters again. They are now totally off script. Totally off script, so they can say anything I want. And I want to know where they are. And I can tell you these little moments, this check-in sometimes is the most surprising, shocking stuff you'll ever hear. And it's surprising often to me and very often to the actors. They go, wow, where did that come from? Because I'm checking in with them. They're still in the heat of the scene. Right after the scene, they're still totally infused with the characters. And I'm saying, you know, tell the other character what you want, what you want. And they have to just dig quickly and deeply, and it'll come out of the unconscious somewhere, and it'll be splattered out there. And then the last part of that, as I say, one more statement, giving them a final statement to say to the other person. And then they do that, and that's what you saw there, and that is the end of the process. Now that's the interrogation process. Getting back to the three mistakes, do you realize there's no room in this process and this way of working for result directing? There's one good reason, which I brought up before. These characters are not actors. They're not in a movie. Carolyn and Lester are not in a movie. So I cannot talk to them about results. I cannot say, this is how I want you to play the scene. I cannot say, this is what I need for the scene. Now, there's a little caveat to this. I can talk about perhaps later, but definitely we will talk about this in the course and we do in the director's lab, how you can get back to result directing using the interrogation process. And it's really kind of cool how it works. In other words, how you can communicate to the actors very clearly what you want, what you're looking for, and still use the interrogation process. So result directing is not totally off the table. It's just how you're using it. So if you watch that, you say there is no result directing. Also, very important, the second mistake I brought up, which was about criticizing the actor. One thing I'm very clear about with this process, and actors, and if you come into the course, and we're going to bring in actors who've done this a lot, they're going to talk about it, and you can hear about it, and a lot of them are online now. What they say, what they tell me, what they go through to this is this sense of total freedom. When they're being interrogated by the character, because there's nothing that's being asked of them except to basically improvise off the top of their head, off the top of the head of the character, which means they cannot make a mistake. They cannot make a mistake because I haven't asked for anything. The biggest mistake they could make, and we could deal with that, is they say, I don't want to do this process. Now, that may be one of the questions that comes up, and there are ways of dealing with that, which I can tell you later, or I can tell you in the course or in the lab, how to deal with people who are resistant to this process. Now, that's the actor being resistant, but as the character, they cannot make a mistake. So if I look at that whole clip that you just saw, were there mistakes made? Anything to be criticized with what I saw from Lester and Carolyn? Absolutely not. This is authentically who they are. They're just revealing beautifully and openly and vulnerably who they are. So criticism is gone. Result directing, gone. Criticism, gone. And now we've created for them a safe space to work. Now they are literally, these two actors at that moment are in that sandbox. And the whole key to this way of working and working with actors is what you saw is you have to get into the sandbox with them. Don't stand outside the sandbox and tell them how to build the castle. Get in there and collaborate, build it with them. That's what I was doing. I'm building it with them. I'm a collaborator. I'm not the director pontificating, demanding, dictating. I'm not. I'm a collaborator. I'm in there helping them do what they want to do, which is just become the character. And I'm helping facilitate that in every way I can. Do I have a vision and idea of where I want to go? Yes. How is that done? That we can deal with in the course, and that we can deal with in the lab. How it's done. But I'll give you one little clue is that I can mention one little thing to them that I've heard right here. One little thing that I've heard, like when Corinne says the ship has sailed. In a rehearsal, 2 or 3 days later, I could say to Rob, just before he goes into a scene, and maybe it's this scene or another scene, I could go up to Rob, but talk to him as Lester. And I could say, Lester, she said the ship has sailed. And he'd probably go, yeah. Now he's responding as Lester. He'd probably go, yeah. Rob, the ship, what does that mean, Rob? I mean, what does that mean, Lester? What does that mean she says the ship has sailed? I don't know. Well, think about it. And then I leave him. That's a very short interrogation just before doing the scene. Now that Lester is going into that scene doing what? One of the 8 things or the 6 things in his head is, what is that? Is she leaving me? Has she found somebody else? What does she mean by that? The ship has sailed. What is it? Now I have put something into the character which is going to change the performance slightly, but maybe profoundly. I can do that at any time between take 2 and 3. I can give another little thing to either Carolyn and say, let's do this. Between takes, I don't talk about, okay, that was good. I want to try it a different way. Let's go for, now we're back to results again. Between takes, I just talk to the characters, very short, just infusing them with a new thought, a new idea, and send them into the scene again, just to see what happens. What you're going to learn very clearly is really what interrogation process is. You've seen a little bit of it now. I've told you a little bit about it. You'll learn more how it works. You'll understand how it works. And you'll understand why it's so effective. Why it's so effective has a lot to do with psychology. It has a lot to do with Socratic questioning. It has a lot to do with, quite honestly, we'll get into this in the course, hypnosis. And the hypnosis is also part of the 4 or the 8, the 6 or the 8. So you'll understand how it works and why it works. And actors know this, actors I work with, they understand this. So that's what you'll learn. And what we're going to cover in this course, we'll cover a lot of things. We'll cover one key element, which I'm sure you saw, which maybe has you a little concerned, really how to improvise with the characters. Now, remember, you're not improvising with the actors. This is really a fine line. You're improvising with their character. So you and the character are having this improvisation, and we'll cover that, how to do that, how to prepare for that. A lot of the process, learning how to do this process, is your preparation as directors, how you are prepared for this process, for this rehearsal. We'll teach you how to use those key phrases, like I mentioned before, that can trigger and change a performance, what I call the trim tabs. A lot of little trim tabs that can shift, how you can shift an entire performance just by one question or statement to the character just before the scene. And you can shift the entire performance. That's how you get the changes you want. That's how you get the different performances that you're looking for. We'll also cover how you can use the interrogation process in the casting process, because when you use it in the casting process, and I can show you how this is done, you will, in the casting process, see the character from the actor that will emerge. If you cast that actor and you go into rehearsal, you'll see the character in the casting process. How that actor reads the scene is one thing. A lot of actors are really great at reading scenes, and they're brilliant. But you want to know what they're like without the scene. who is the character really. And I can show you how to do that in the casting process. I can also will show you how you, and I know some of you have brought questions up about this, working with day players and people like that come in, you've had no time to prep. I can show you how to do what we call high-speed directing, how you can change, how you can, through this process, through these techniques, turn an actor, even a non-actor, into the character you want in about 3 minutes. You have to see it to understand how it works. You have to understand the whole techniques to understand how it works. But it works, and it works brilliantly. It works fast, and you can take that day player, whoever, and turn them into the character you want, but in about 3 minutes, and then you're fine. So all those tools and techniques and the tricks, there are tricks of the interrogation is what we'll be covering. Now, I know a lot of you may be having questions about, well, why don't we just hire really good actors? Good idea, great idea. Hire the best actors you can. But actors always need support. Actors always want to be directed. They always, when you hear about actors saying, I don't want to be directed, it only means that they've had bad experiences. Actors want support. They want that support. Think of your direction as support, not as a demand. So hire great actors. And great actors, when you work, and I've worked with some A-list actors doing this. I've worked with a whole range of actors. And when I work with really skilled actors, it's amazing what they can do so quickly because they're so attuned to getting into the character because that's where they want to be. That's where they want to live. They want to live inside that character. And through using these techniques, you're putting them there immediately, and they are forever, forever grateful. One thing about this process is it's easy. It's easy for the actor because all the actor has to do is sit back and let go. Just let go. What they love to do, just let go. Let whatever creative juices, ideas, feelings, and emotions come out of them, just let them go. Just let them go. Let them go. Even while the scene is happening, just let it go. So it's easy, much easier for the actor. It's a little more difficult for the director, but that's why I'm here to teach you, to show you how it's done. Some of you also might be thinking you don't have time to rehearse like this. First of all, the clip you just saw was only 11 minutes, and look at what we got done in 11 minutes. And about half of that was actually running the scene. I could have sent them into the scene right after the interrogation, and we would have achieved a lot. It's not how much time you have to rehearse. It's how you rehearse. How you know you can rehearse, and you know that within 3 minutes you can affect that character. You can bring that character to life. Learning how to do that, just learning how to do that. These are not acting techniques. These are directing techniques that I'm going to teach you so you can bring out the best in your actors. Okay? Now, the investment, as I told you before, for this course that starts a week from today is just $300. In this course, there are webinars very much like this. There's 10 hours of webinars. 10 hours of webinars, which include lectures, demonstrations, exercises, and Q&A. And there's also the training on how to prepare for the interrogation, which is actually done by you between the webinars. It's a whole program that's designed just for you to bring it up. So, but just think about the 10 hours. You got 10 hours and it's $300. That's costing you, in terms of the online live webinars like this, about $30 an hour. And I say, good luck hiring a coach or a consultant for $30 an hour. And for those of you who have attorneys, okay, it's cheap, it's inexpensive. I mean, what have you got to lose? Plus, like I mentioned before, those 10 hours of videos, once the whole course is done, or actually after each video, they're available to you online for a lifetime. So all that 10 hours worth of material, you have it. This becomes part of your library, part of your research library. That is invaluable. So I get a lot of other questions about working with non-actors and untrained actors. It works very, very well. You have to be very sensitive to the individual, who they are, and which is something we will cover in the course, and it's something we definitely cover in the director's lab a lot, is how to read the actor, read that individual, and how you can use their strengths to help them through the process. So if you're working with a non-actor or someone who's had very, very little experience, but you can bring out a much better performance, a much better character with this technique. You may be wondering about genre. Does it work for comedy? Does it work for drama, sci-fi, horror, thriller? It works in any form where there is a performance. It works on stage, it works on the screen. You always have at the core of your stories, the stories you're all telling are people, are characters. This is the most important part of your job, is to bring those characters to life, to bring them to a rich, authentic life, regardless of the style of the movie, regardless of the genre, regardless of the tone, whether it's something like a Christopher Nolan film or you're doing a Wes Anderson film, doesn't matter. Those are two totally different styles, but they are still people. They just exist in slightly different worlds. Whether it's a comedy or a drama, it doesn't matter. Whether it's a horror film or a thriller, it doesn't matter. They are people. What will happen, what you will learn in the course, is as you shift into a different genre or you shift into a different style, your interrogation shifts right along with it. The tone of your interrogation helps set up the style, helps maintain the world you want them to live in. And one big question I get from a lot of you, and some of the actors that I saw checking in, I know they have asked this question in past. Why don't more directors work this way? It seems so logical. Well, first of all, yes, it is logical. I mean, just think about it. You want the character on the screen. Why not talk to the character? Why not just create the character? Why not just stimulate and ignite the character and not get into all of this other stuff that gets in the way, like the actor's plan? Why not? Why aren't there more directors doing this? Well, there are. There are more and more. Every day there are more and more. I'm doing everything I can. This is my goal in life, is to help all of you become directors like this. All of you to work this way. Okay, quick recap, because we're running out of time here. We've covered the 3 mistakes. We've covered a solution to the 3 mistakes. And I have, from some of you have written in about the concerns you have, which are, actors doing a great job and still want direction. That's a great question. What do you do with actors who are doing a great job and still want direction? Give them the direction. But if you give them the direction this way, if they are doing you think they're doing a great job, but they feel there's something more, then you go back to the interrogation, you go back to talking to the character, and you stimulate, you ignite the character. The reason they want more direction is because they can feel there's more that they can give. Okay, giving the actors freedom without losing my vision, you will not lose your vision. In the course, I will show you, and I can in the lab too, but in the course, I will show you how you can maintain your vision without asking for results, and how through the interrogation process, you are actually supporting your vision every single moment, because you know where you want those characters to go. You know the style and rhythm and of the tone of the scene, and they are getting that from you unconsciously. You're not plugging it into their head, you're plugging it into their system, and they will maintain it. Another one is fearful of working with established actors this way on the film set. This is interesting, and I'll talk about it for a second. Established actors. A lot of directors I work with work in television, where those actors have been in that series for 5 years. They're established actors. They know their characters. And they say, well, they're not going to want to do this. Actually, it's not true. They will, if you know how to do it, if you know how to approach them. If you're working with an actor and his name is Fred, and the character he's playing, his name is Charles, and you go up to Fred and you say, can I talk to Charles for a minute? And he might go, okay. Now, he has no idea what you're going to do. You say, oh, okay. And you start asking Charles questions. Now you're interrogating. Charles, as you're about to go into this scene with your boss, you think it's going to work? And now he'll start answering. He'll go there immediately. He knows the character well enough. He'll go in there, and all you're doing is getting him to talk as the character. They will do it. Now, if someone totally refuses, you just leave them alone. But I can tell you, and I'll do this in the class, how, if someone totally refuses, you can get them to a point where they will totally embrace the process. There's one question about subtext and scene objectives. Scene objectives. Well, first of all, the subtext, that whole exercise you saw, is about subtext, but the subtext is not coming from me. The subtext is not coming from the actors. I'm not asking them what the subtext is. I'm not asking them what they're thinking and feeling. The actors, when you ask an actor what they think the character is feeling, you're getting an actor's opinion of what the character is feeling. I'd rather ask the character. I'm asking the character and something comes out. Now I can, and again, these are techniques I can teach you. I can shift. If something's coming out that I don't want, there is a way to shift it. I can shift it. I can actually eradicate it without saying that they're wrong. I can reframe it. It's a whole reframing process which you can learn. So you can get the subtext going in exactly the direction you want. Your other part of your question was about scene objectives. Okay, scene objectives. I can go back. Now, imagine you just saw the clip you saw, and we go back and I start again with an interrogation, which I could do. When I brought them together, check in, I could go right back. And I could just say to Lester, okay, Lester, you're going to get another shot at this, which means we're going to do the scene again. I say, what do you want? What do you want? Now I'm asking them specifically about scene objectives. So there are different sizes of interrogation. What you saw was a general size of how they feel about each other. I can get down to very specific interrogations, which actually get much more laser, much more myopic, and shorter. I said, what are you going to do? He says, oh, I'm going to make her, I'm going to get her back. I'm going to get her back just the way she, that car is going to do it. I said, sure, that's great. I can support that. I can get him stating the objective and then send him right into the scene again without doing all the other stuff. So you can infuse into the character, not into the actor's mind, into the character, the scene objectives. And one question about working with extremely emotional scenes. Well, this one's kind of emotional. I don't know what the concern is about working with extremely emotional scenes, but it works. Yes, and it works with love scenes, and it works with children, but you have to, with modifications, and it works with in a lot of different situations. Doing this with comedy is great, but with comedy, you're interrogator. You, the interrogator, have to shift. You have to shift your thinking into, that's what I was talking about before, into the tone of interrogation. We have some more questions. Travis, one is the Travis technique for editors. Great question. Great question, because the editors, and one of my favorite editors who I saw is actually on, I have to embarrass my friend Lewis, because I know maybe he asked this question. He's online now. He's actually the one who edited the scene you just saw. Fantastic editor. But the Travis technique for editors need to understand the process of working with actors as deeply as possible so that they can respond to the material. They need to respond to the material that comes to them. One of my favorite things to do when I'm working is to have the editor in the room when we're rehearsing, like the clip you saw. They're watching that. They're seeing what's explored. They're hearing all the subtext. They are getting to know those characters intimately, even before there's any footage. So this is an important part of the process, not that we're just dumping footage on the editor and say, do the best you can. They come out of that process, just the rehearsal process. They may not be there when you're shooting. They don't really need to be, or they could be, but they know the characters well enough.
Can you
hear me?
Okay, so Kelly, we have some winners.
Yes, we have some winners. So
okay.
Are you ready?
I am so ready. Yes, I am ready.
Okay. I have Marilyn Machete and Richard Bell.
Wow. Okay, Marilyn. Marilyn, are you online?
I'm here.
You're here, Marilyn.
I'm
Guess
here.
what? Guess what?
I can't
Marilyn?
believe it.
Thank
you.
Believe it. You're very, very welcome.
Oh, thank you so much.
I like your picture. We can't see you, but that's okay. Don't worry about that. But Marilyn, I'm curious. I asked you to write into the chat why this is important to you, and what did you say?
I want to be respectful of the environment for the actor and still
Yep.
create an environment where they feel safe and yet still get my vision in the scene as a writer-director, without being demanding and without being, I'm never critical, but I think sometimes I might come across as not being demanding, but saying what I want. And I want to stop doing that. So this is going to be a wonderful exercise for me. And I've taken one of your classes a long, long time ago. I came to LA and took one of your classes down there. And it was like maybe 10 years ago. So I need to kind of start learning this over again.
Fantastic. Well, Marilyn, congratulations.
Thank you.
You have my email address. You know how to get in touch with me. Do get in touch with me, and because I need to give you the coupon so you can sign up for free.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Okay, Kelly, are you back? Who's the second one?
So the second one is Richard Bell.
Richard. Well, congratulations, Richard. Where are you in the world?
I'm in South Island of New Zealand, Mark.
The South Island of New Zealand. We were there just about a year ago. Okay. So, Richard, congratulations. And
thank you very much.
I'm curious what you wrote in the chat about why this is how you feel this will be helpful to you.
Well, I think I was just trying to remember what I wrote, but I mean, it's the pursuit of authenticity. I think the authentic side of what you do or what you work towards is so invaluable, and it's that just relentless pursuit of authenticity.
Yeah, we very good. Yeah, we strive for that, knowing we'll be happy to get 90%.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something. If we can get 90, that's great. There's always that other, that has to do with the 8 things to it, all that. But so congratulations, Richard.
Well, thank you.
All the way from New Zealand. The wonderful thing about this course, obviously, is you can be anywhere in the world and be in the course, just like you can on this webinar. So, Richard, get in touch with me, then I will send you the coupon you need so you can enroll.
I'll do that. And thank you for today. Thank you for your time.
You are very welcome. You are very welcome. Okay, so those are our 2 winners. Have a wonderful day. Please be safe. Stay healthy. Be well. Take good care of yourselves. And I'll see you all very, very soon.